Welcome back to the show. Our next guest is the voice of Cork. He is a writer and he is a documentary maker, and he is on a winning streak, and he's after winning the World Cultural Council Arts Award. Before we chat to Conal Creedon, Fiachar Shaw.
I take her by the hand, and on we make our way to the brow of Patrick's Hill. There we stop, look back down onto the goldfish bowl. We don't turn to salt. We climb the wall at Bell's Field. There before us is a world framed by the salt and pepper cellars, the belfries of St. Anne's and the North Cathedral. Breathe it in, I say.
With extracts of his work translated into a number of languages, including Chinese, Bulgarian, Italian, German, and his stage plays produced in China, the United States and Europe, Conal's forensic exploration of his tightly knit neighbourhood offers a fascinating insight into the universal nature of the human condition.
Conal, great to have you back on the show. Congratulations on the World Cultural Council Arts Award. Did anyone else in Ireland ever get this award before?
No, and it was a surprise for me. Realistically, these things, when it happens, the first thing is you sort of doubt yourself. You start thinking, oh, I don't really deserve this, and then you still feel you don't deserve it, but you end up doing it. So I heard about it last May, and even then, it's that cliche thing. You think, this is someone, winding me up, right? And then you go and you meet them and you realise they're fairly serious people, and they're, and it's quite
happening.
Incredible.
Yeah, well, it's huge, actually, that you're the first person in Ireland to get this. I mean, I think that's massive, isn't it?
Well, there'll be a queue now after this, right?
Oh, well, you were the first.
Always the first.
But you're also in the States. You won a big award there as well.
Well, that was the Irish-American...
Cultural, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was basically a literature award, and it was on in Chicago last week, actually, and a few people Ciarán Hinds got an award for acting.
Right. And Fintan O'Toole, wasn't
Fintan O'Toole and Alton.
Maureen, I think she's there with you in the picture there.
And it was brilliant. Mm-hmm. It was just fun, and I must say, Irish America. My grandfather went to America, right, in turn of the century, and I sort of have a soft spot for Irish America ever since, because I realised that I could very easily, not me personally, but my family line could have been that. But he managed to come back, and there's sort of, there is that sort of loneliness in Irish America, and yet there's that sort of happiness to be there as well. It's
amazing. Like, you were writing here in Cork, and did you ever think that you'd be touching lives of Irish American people, say, in Chicago?
Well, obviously not. Yeah. I mean, truthfully, everything I write is on my street, and even this being here is a million miles away from what gets me out of bed or puts me to bed at night. Yeah. Like, I sort of inclined to just write is what I like doing. It's like an obsessive sort of disorder I have, or order, I don't know, but it's something I just do all the time, and everything else sort of gets in the way of it, but in a good way, So like this, I'm not complaining, in other words. I'm delighted to be here. But truthfully, it's a million miles away from what gets me doing it. And, that's the joy of writing, I suppose,
Yeah, well, you're so it's such a part of your life. It is you, really. Now, your new book, Spaghetti Boat, what's really interesting, I suppose, about all your books is that they're set within all the same area, within a couple of streets. And this certainly is that type of book.
Yeah, well, in fact, that award, that's what, because I was sort of saying, why did I get the award? Was it for crimes against punctuation or something, right? And they said, because I'm not a crime writer, but and they said no, that they said it's because they found the forensic examination of a small neighbourhood reflected a greater world.
A snapshot of the greater world.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to disagree with him, but I was delighted to get it.
Yeah. Can I just show a few photos just to people, because you talk about, I suppose the genesis of this book is how it was then and how it is now, and that's then.
Yeah, well, like street soccer was very much part of my life. You mentioned Roy Keane earlier. His family were born across the road. So Mr. Keane lived across the road, number 7.
Yeah.
And I knew them fairly well, and I didn't know Roy because he was born in Mayfield, but, that's where they lived. And, street soccer was very big. And, that generation, the old generation of soccer players, they often credit street soccer for being... for doing certain, I suppose it's a different type of grounding,
Maradona did.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
But it's amazing that time. So there was no computers or anything, not even a TV in the house. Out you go, come in when it's dark or raining.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. Come in for your tea if you're lucky.
Yeah.
The mad thing is that around the 90s, that all ended. And in fact, the first story I wrote actually was about, and it's sort of semi-autobiographical. Most things I write is sort of autobiographical in a way, right? Or memoirish anyway, right? It was about a neighbour's child that was basically got killed by a bus outside our house. And very soon after, for me, I thought that was like a metaphor for the street just dying, because all the families moved out. Not because of that, but sort of around that time, right? The late 70s, early 80s, right? And I really thought that was the end of an era. And they're all back again. So like our shop, we were from Inchigeelagh or whatever, right? There's other shop, the other side was from Beara. What you found is that all those shops closed because supermarkets open and things, but now they're all reopened again. And it's the new Cork. It's like, so there's Bangladesh, Pakistan, Brazilian, these shops, right? There's a Polish shop, there's a Russian bar, and there's that sense that we were the new Cork 100 years ago. And even on our street, you know where our street is, it's off Patrick Street. A man used to come to my father, like Mr. Collin, and he'd say, Connie, I'm going into Cork. Do you want to be in Cork? Like Cork was a city. Like we were country people,
And you were just up the road, but it's because
we were literally 2 seconds from Patrick Street.
And going into the city.
And even though I'm probably third generation city centre, right? There would be a sense that we wouldn't be city people. There were people assumed that you're from Inchigeelagh, that I'm from Inchigeelagh, you know, and I sort of say, yeah, right, okay. I'm not going to argue with you, right? But
it's really interesting because you talk about where the people came from as well, and Beara. I think you're going to read us a little bit, are you?
Well, I read a small, but I mean, it's sort of what I do. I'm not going to read the full piece because it's a bit long, but I'll just read a small piece, and it's the mad thing is, I never realised I was short-sighted. I thought it was short-hand. My arms are too short.
We all are. Don't worry about it. We're all in denial.
This thing, it's working. Okay, I'll give this a lash for it. I just went through it. I read this actually at the award ceremony because I thought because I dedicated the award to a specific family in Beara actually, and this is it. She seldom spoke of loneliness, but sometimes dared to dream. Up high, where golden fish and angels fly, and the setting sun reached back to say, come west, the road with me. She dared to dream of crystal stream, through cracked chimney pot, slate-clad buckle beam, from Barley Lake, along craggy spine, past clear pools sparkling blue, sweeping down to white sands at Puxley's mine. This is Beara, she'd say, where the ancient Gaelic order stood against the crown at Dunboy Bay, a shoreline of breathtaking beauty, carved by the pounding of the wild Atlantic, kissed by the warm stream from Mexico way. This is Beara, a marriage of fact and fiction, where the spiritual complements the natural without contrivance or contradiction, and O'Sullivan Bear led the remnants of his clan on the Trail of Tears to Leitrim from this, his homeland. This is Beara, a land shaped by the people and a people shaped by the land, where the mountain ram is king of all that he surveys, and the regal splendour of the ancient Coilach is crowned queen of the Corkadee and the Corkalee. So no, she seldom spoke of loneliness, but sometimes dared to dream, up high, where golden fish and angels fly, when the setting sun reached back to say, this is Beara. Come home the road to me.
That's beautiful.
Well, you wouldn't come and read us every evening, would you?
Put you to sleep?
No, my God.
That's very beautiful.
We were distressing teenagers earlier on with Dermot Will. You were after distressing everyone here.
Do you distress the nation?
The mad thing is that I actually wrote that for my mother, right? And, you know, she came, like, you probably know because, you know, but she comes, there was 10 in the family. They lived up among them, right? And it was a time before electrification and things, right? And she used to talk about the stream down by the house, and the house is still there, right? And me and my naivety, my urban naivety, just assumed that this was the water feature, not realising she was talking about fresh water, right? And that's what and, you know, 10 daughters, 10 sisters, this was their life. And she came to Cork City, and I never realised until long after she was dead that she was probably homesick all the time.
I bet she was.
Just before we go, very important.
We do. Now, Conal's going to help us with this. So for anyone out there who might have a novel in a drawer somewhere and you've never published it or you never even thought you could publish it, we are going to do something very exciting in the new year. Mercier, of course, who are Mercier Press, one of the leading publishers in the country, are going to give one of you a chance to be a published novelist. So you have to have the novel written, and they're going to read the first 1,000 words, then they'll talk to Conal and they will decide which book should be published eventually. They're also going to give that author,
Yeah,
mentoring
some
along
help.
the way,
Along-
absolutely. I think it'd be a published author.
What genre are we looking at here, Conal, just before we go?
It's wide open. And the thing is that...
It has to be Irish, though.
Oh, yeah. Two things. First of all, I've never been published by Mercy, but I have great time from the neighbours of ours. They had a shop around the corner. And Mary Fian, as a child, she had my dog's pup. But the point is that the competition basically is very simple. It's you must have the book written, so it has to be
that's
start
right.
to finish.
And we'll tell everyone about it
we'll
properly.
tell- yeah,
we just want to
100%.
tease it today with you.
So the idea is that get your book out of your drawer, get it finished
Look
after
there,
Christmas.
and we'll fill them in after Christmas. Conal, Gurmagat, great to
Gurmila
have you.
Conal.
Thank you very much.
Spaghetti Bowls is available in all good and bad bookstores all around the country.
Absolutely.
And we have a few signed copies as well, and we'll put all that up on our social media pages.
Brilliant.
No.